Hi guys, so welcome to another video. In today's video we're talking about the Mavic 3 Classic. This is going to be a long-term review, but I don't want to go into specs that much. I'd rather focus on, my experience having owned this drone now for almost 2 years. I've also flown this drone quite extensively over the past 2 years as well. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Mavic 4, if I'm going to upgrade to the Mavic 4, and even if it's going to be worth that upgrade. But the real question of today's video is, was this drone worth it, and would I buy this drone again today? Alright, so first things first, my name is Niclas, and if you're new to this channel, hello and welcome. And also I would highly appreciate it if you decide to smash that like and subscribe button. Okay, so first on my list I have build quality and durability and how well that, has held up over the last 2 years. What I will say is that personally I have never crashed this drone, but there's a good reason why I haven't crashed the drone, and that is because of all the sensors this drone has. It has sensors in the front, it has sensors underneath and on the side. So the obstacle avoidance on this drone is the reason I haven't crashed this drone. Now, as you probably know, you can either fly in cine, normal or sports mode, and when you fly in sports mode, the obstacle avoidance shuts off. But I would say that, 95% of the times I do fly in cine mode. The only time I actually use sports mode is when I want to return to home faster, and I do that manually, and I'm also very high up in the air, so it's kind of impossible to crash this drone as well. However, I will say that I have flown this drone inside my apartment as well, and of course I did fly it into a wall. So in terms of, durability, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's made out of plastic, so I can only imagine the damage that would occur if I were to crash this drone. But it kind of has to be made out of plastic because it keeps it under 900 grams to ensure that it qualifies for that C1 certification under EU regulations. But even though it has like a plasticky design, it also feels, a very much like a premium thing. Now, in terms of durability when it comes to weather conditions, I have had this drone up in, I wouldn't say storm, but it couldn't have been far from it. Now, the areas that it doesn't shine is going to be in rain and snow. I will say that I have flown this drone in light rain, and I've also flown this drone in some snow because, you have to get the shot, right? If something were to happen, you don't get anything back from DJI on your insurance or anything like that. They don't cover that if you do that. I wish, however, it did perform better in those areas because it rains here all the time and it snows here all the time. And those are kind of the conditions I have to deal with on a regular basis here because I live in Norway. That's just how it is. I also had this drone up in minus 15 to minus 20 degrees. The only problems with that is that the battery life drains much faster than it would otherwise. And at the same time, I've had it in very hot weather, but there hasn't really been any issue in terms of that. Alright, so let's touch on the batteries and the battery life. I do have 3 batteries that came with the combo package when I bought this drone, and I think DJI markets these batteries for 46 minutes each. That is not really the case. From my experience, you're lucky if you get like between 30 and 35 minutes. And the reason for that is because it comes down to how aggressively you fly your drone. The more radical movements you do, the more battery life you're gonna drain. At the same time, if the drone has to deal with a lot of wind on top of that, the battery life will drain much faster. On top of that, when you are about 20%, when you have around 20% left on your battery, your drone wants to return to home, and you don't really want to cancel that. You do have the option to cancel that, but you don't want to do that because that's what I did. And that's how I almost lost my drone as well, which is a story I'm going to tell you in a second. So from my experience, when your drone wants to return to home, you should let it return to home. The thing is that when I was a complete beginner with this drone, I used way more battery life than I do now, which kind of makes sense, right? Because now that I feel very confident with this drone, I know exactly what shots I want to get. I'm much better at planning my shots. I don't have to redo a lot of stuff, so I'm more efficient in my flying, which again saves battery life. The only thing from my experience is that if you need to do a hyperlapse or something like that, that would basically drain the whole battery. So that is my experience with battery life. Alright, so let's touch on the range and connectivity and the RC1. DJI markets this drone to fly up to 30 kilometers in distance, and the distance for the transmission is 15 kilometers. I have never had any reason to fly that far, like where are you going? And from my experience, I'd say that when you do get something between the controller and the drone, or you turn a little bit away from the drone, it's very easy to lose that connection when your drone is very far away. That is my experience from it. Now, what I would also say is that every time I've lost connection when I've been far away with the drone, the heart always starts pumping, but the same thing happens every time, and that is that the drone does return to home, because that is what it's programmed to do. And for the RC itself, I have been very happy with this RC. Maybe the screen could have been a little bit brighter, and also there is some annoyance here with a little bit of input lag. When you press stuff on the controller, it takes a little bit of time, it lags a little bit. Touching a little bit on the menu and the interface itself, I think DJI does a very good job here. They keep it very clean and simple and very easy to use, which is a big deal for a lot of people. There is also another controller out there that I could have gotten, like the RC Pro, but Jesus Christ, the price on that thing. So I didn't really find it worth to upgrade to that controller, because I've always been happy with the range. Yes, the screen could have been a little bit brighter, especially when you shoot in log. That profile is so flat, so on the screen it can get very hard to see if the sun is blasting you at the same time. That is my experience, but overall, very happy with the RC. Now, would I have liked to have the RC Pro? Of course, but with that price tag, forget it. No. Alright, so moving over to camera and image quality. This is probably the best thing about this drone. This is where I think this drone really shines. It can shoot 5.1K resolution up to 50 frames per second, giving you the option to slow down the footage. It also can shoot up to 4K 120 frames per second, but I try to avoid that because the quality gets so much worse. But it's definitely a cool thing to have, especially if you're shooting waterfalls and stuff like that. It's a very nice feature to have. It also has 10-bit color depth, giving me a lot of good things to work with in post-production as well. And because you can open up all the way to f2.8, that has been nothing but a blessing, because I gotta be honest, after 2 years now, most of the time I don't shoot in daylight anymore. Then it has to be for work or something like that, because I frankly think it's boring. All the best shots I have gotten has been during the evening or the morning when the sun is right, and usually that involves a lot of dark scenes where you need kind of good low light performance, and you also want great dynamic range to get most details in the shadows and the highlights. So I'm very happy with this drone in terms of that, and I think that a mini drone wouldn't really have cut it here for me. And something else that has been absolutely fantastic with this drone is its photography capabilities. When I bought this drone, it was strictly video, but then I started taking photos with this drone, and most of my best photos has actually come from this drone. And the reason for that is not because I don't like shooting handheld, it's just that, you know, with the drone you can get to places you can't get to on foot. You know, so good composition is so much easier to find when you're flying a drone. Alright, so let's touch on the things that gets me most excited about this drone, and that is the intelligent flight modes. Having the ability to go up in the air, filming myself by myself, is something that you needed a camera crew for and a helicopter just a few years ago. That is insane to think about. And this just opens so many possibilities. I like not relying on other people. I like being a solo creator. I like only having to rely on myself when creating stuff. But what I don't like about the intelligent flight modes is that you have to bump the resolution down from 5.1K to 4K. If this sensor is capable of 5.1K, that is the resolution I want to take advantage of. But one of my absolute favorite feature of this drone when it comes to solo creating is going to be cruise control. Because with cruise control, you don't have to bump the resolution down to 4K. You can actually stick to that 5.1K. The biggest problem with cruise control is that you don't have obstacle avoidance anymore. It turns that off as soon as you start your cruise control, so you have to be very careful with this. It does have other cool features like waypoints, setting your drone route, but from my experience is that is not reliable enough. It doesn't get me as smooth footage as I want from that. So this is something I want to see they improve on in the future drones. There are some things that I do actually absolutely hate though, and that is the quick shots and the master shots. And the reason for that is because those movements always look the same. They are like pre-recorded in a way. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of automation, because if everyone starts using quick shots, all the clips will look the same. There's no skill involved, it's just a computer doing something because you pressed a button. Listen, I'm all for better, more advanced paintbrushes, as long as I'm the one who's painting. As soon as that paintbrush starts painting by itself, I'm out. Okay, so best and worst experience with this drone. I think the best experience I've had with this drone, I think that was the first time I went out and filmed something really special. Because I shoot in D-Log, you don't really see on the controller what you're actually capturing. You don't really see that until you get back to color grading. And the thing I was filming was a glacier. When I first saw the colors of the footage I actually got, that was a very good feeling. I got a similar feeling when I was in Lofoten Islands as well, when I filmed probably one of my best shots actually. That is probably yeah, my two best experiences with this drone. Alright, so for my worst experience with this drone, well, there is one, and that is the story of how I almost lost my drone. So what happened was I was up in a mountain that was like 1500 meters above sea level. So on my way down, I decided to launch my drone for one last time. And of course, as always, the drone starts, you know, complaining when it's low on battery. So when it was around 25%, 20%, it wanted to return to home. And I canceled that return to home because in my mind, I just thought, you know, 25%, that's a lot of battery and I just need a couple more shots, so it's not really a big deal. But little did I know that when you get down to 15%, something like that, 15, 10%, the drone doesn't like you anymore. It just takes over everything. There's nothing you can do anymore. And it emergency lands right where it is. And there was also a very limited space I could navigate in. And the drone emergency landed. I think the drone needs to do that because it does have features like emergency features, like you can find it on your GPS with the RC. You can also use a feature where it starts blinking and beeping, so it's easier for you to find it if you lose it. And because of these features, I got away lucky that day. But the next day when I was gonna transfer my footage from the drone to my computer, the drone wouldn't turn on. I tried all 3 batteries and the drone just refused to turn on. So I sent the drone to DJI. DJI reached out to me. Best customer service I've ever experienced from any company out there. And if I remember correctly, I think DJI said that they have fixed it and they sent the drone back. When I got the drone back, it was very obvious that they just sent me a new drone. And I don't know why they said they had fixed it. Maybe they actually couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, so they just decided to send me a new drone. I don't know. But I'm grateful either way. So that is the short version, and that is the worst moment I have had with this drone. Okay, before I forget, let's quickly touch on the bag. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. This is a bag that came with the drone when I bought it back in 2011 with the combo package. The only thing I will say is that I've never used it. It's too nice. It's too nice to use. I like to get dirty, and I have my own backpack for that type of environment, like snow, rain, dirt, mud. So yeah, the bag is just sitting here. It's gonna sit here forever. Alright, so moving over to the biggest pros and the biggest cons. I'm gonna start off with the pros. And the first one is going to be the sensor on this drone. As I said earlier, I'm very happy with the sensor. Fantastic image quality, both for photography and for video. Next up, we have wind resistance, how strong this drone is in heavy wind. Third one is going to be solo creating abilities with all those intelligent flight modes, cruise control and all that good stuff, as I mentioned earlier. Next to that, we have the ability to shoot in 120 frames per second. Next, we have GPS tracking and obstacle avoidance. It's great to have those features. If you ever lose your drone, it's very hard to crash your drone, so that is a big pro as well. Next to that, we have battery life. You get great battery life and much better than the mini series. And lastly, we have D-Log. Alright, so moving over to the cons. Yes, there are a few, and I'm gonna start with one of the worst ones. This is the plastic cover that comes. Have you ever, don't come here and tell me, if you own a Mavic drone and you have this, you know what I'm talking about. Like, if you ever stood in the field, you know, does this seem familiar? No. No. No, the propeller. The gimbal. Shit. It's just, I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't like it. The only good thing about this is that it doesn't weigh anything, but I'm pretty sure there is a better solution out there for something like this. Maybe even a box you just slide the drone in, and then you have like a cover here in front where you lock it, something like that. There has to be a better solution to this, and I hope to see that in the Mavic 4. Alright, the next one is also a very minor con, and that is going to be the battery charger. really hasn't anything to do with the Mavic 3 Classic itself, but since it came with the drone when I bought it, I might as well mention it. And that is that I don't like how when you put your battery in here, I don't feel that it's stuck there. Like, where's the click? I want the click here so I know that it's in, because right now it just feels weird. As again, this is a minor thing. I just wish it had like a click and that you can detach it while holding down a button on the side there or something like that. Alright, so the next con, as I see it, is that you don't get that 5.1K resolution when you're shooting in these intelligent flight modes. This is something I wish for in the future. And next to that, we have bad quality 4K 120. Yes, I love shooting in 4K 120, but there is a big difference in the quality between the 5.1K resolution and the 4K 120 S&Q mode. Alright, so next up we have the input lag on the controller. Wish it wasn't there. And lastly, it's going to be only one lens option, which is the 24mm equivalent. And when you look at the Mavic 3 Pro, for example, you do have that telephoto lens. And for some people, that might actually be a very big deal. So those are the biggest pros and cons as I see them. Alright, so let's answer to the question of the day. Was it worth it? Would I still buy it today? And will I upgrade to the Mavic 4? Well, if this video wasn't clear enough, yes, it was totally worth the buy. This drone changed my life, and I really mean that, because when I bought this drone, I also realized the path I wanted to take forward, the passion I wanted to pursue. I moved to another place, started studying something called media production, and I also see myself doing this for the rest of my life, which is fantastic. So, no, I do not regret buying this drone. But would I buy it again today? No, because today we have the Mavic 3 Pro, which has more options in terms of, having that telephoto lens, something I do wish I had. But it wasn't really enough for me to sell this drone and upgrade to the Mavic 3 Pro. I didn't feel like that was worth it when the Mavic 3 Pro came out. I do, however, think a Mavic 4 is going to be worth it. Like, listen, I'm pretty sure we will get a better sensor, better flight time, and all of those things are great. But what I really want to see is more advanced intelligent flight modes. As I said, I want to see true 4K 120. If they can do that, then I'm all in. Like, I really want that, and I'm highly also considering getting the Mavic 4 Cine version. That also kind of depends, because the price tag on the Cine version is also very, very hefty, so it has to be worth it. It has to offer something unique and different for me to actually spend that kind of amount of money. That is the verdict on that. But with all that said, if there was a fire here in my apartment and I woke up and I had to grab one thing, I would have grabbed the Mavic 3 Classic, not because it's the most expensive thing that I have in here. I would grab it by instinct, because this thing has given me so much joy and it has so much value to me. That is truly how I feel about this drone. A fantastic device. Highly, highly recommend it to anyone. The only regret I have when it comes to this drone is that I haven't used it more, that I haven't made more drone videos, which I'm gonna focus much more on from now on out. So if you haven't already, please don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button if you want to see more drone videos. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.